Honestly, even after reviewing the security logs again and again, it still doesn't add up. Physics doesn't just bend like that. Biology definitely shouldn't move that fast. I've witnessed orbital bombardments. I've seen what plasma burns do to reinforced steel. But I have never seen anything like the silence that settled over the Zenith 9 conference chamber after the screaming stopped. 75 elite shock troops, Cror berserkers and Iraqian tactical units, were scattered across the floor like broken action figures. And in the center of that devastation, surrounded by the groaning remains of the galaxy's most feared warriors, sat a human named Kalin. He wasn't breathing hard. He wasn't bleeding. He was calmly unwrapping another protein bar. 75 soldiers against one man holding a snack. But 3 hours earlier, no one found any of it funny. The High Minister of Rocks was already bracing for a funeral. I was in the observation deck when the fleets arrived. You could feel the vibration of their engines through the station hull. The Kragthor ships were monstrous, jagged hulls covered in cannons. The Iraqian vessels were different. Sleek, silent, like predators gliding through deep water. They docked like hunters arriving to claim prey. And then came the human transport. It looked less like a diplomatic cruiser and more like a cargo hauler that had taken a wrong turn near an asteroid belt. Vox actually facepalmed. Later he admitted he was calculating how quickly he could resign. The Kragth delegation brought Warlord Gra and 40 heavily armored guards. The Iraqians sent General Thrax and his personal kill squad. The humans? Ambassador Ara Vance. A woman who looked like a strong breeze could knock her over, and Kalin. Kalin stepped off the airlock wearing an old jacket, messy hair, sneakers, chewing on something like he was a tourist who'd lost his way. The conference chamber was built to intimidate, polished steel holographic star maps glowing overhead. Gra and Thrax didn't even wait for introductions. They laughed. A low, wet, mocking sound. Gra pointed at Kalin, who was busy reading the nutrition label on his snack, and asked if the humans had brought a pet. Ambassador Vance didn't react. She simply sat there, her composure mistaken for fear. She tried discussing trade routes and ceasefires, but the warlords weren't listening. They were waiting for an excuse. Came fast. Gra slammed his fist onto the table, cracking the composite surface. He shouted that peace was weakness. Thrax signaled his soldiers. Personal shields shimmered to life. They had disabled the station's safety protocols. This wasn't diplomacy. It was a staged execution. 75 weapons were drawn at once. The air thickened with the promise of bloodshed. Ara stood and warned them they were making a mistake. Gra responded with a sneer. He drew a serrated plasma blade from his belt. The weapon's hum filled the chamber. The bodyguard wasn't meant as protection. He was a warning. But no one understood that language yet. Gra lunged. Perfect killing strike aimed at the ambassador's throat. I stopped breathing. The blade was inches from her skin. Kalin was still sitting. And then the universe glitched. That's the only way I can describe it. One moment Gra was pure lethal motion. The next, there was a sickening snap that echoed louder than a gunshot. Kalin didn't even stand fully. He simply shifted. He was inside Gra's guard before the warlord's brain could process what had happened. One hand caught the wrist holding the blade. The other drove Gra's face into the reinforced table. The impact cracked the polyless surface. The veteran of 12 campaigns collapsed like soaked cardboard. That was the spark. The room erupted. 74 elite soldiers charged. It should have been a massacre. Instead, it became a lesson in kinetic physics. Kalin moved as if tuned to a different frequency. He didn't fight them, he flowed through them. A Kragthor berserker swung a warhammer capable of denting tank armor. Kalin sidestepped by a fraction, seized the handle and redirected the momentum, sending the attacker crashing into 3 Iraqian guards. He dismantled the kill squad with surgical precision. Not wild punches, calculated strikes to nerve clusters, joints, breathing ports. It wasn't brawling. It was anatomy at high speed. He ducked under plasma fire that scorched the wall behind him, swept the legs of a 7-foot reptilian soldier, caught a live grenade midair, and tossed it back into a cluster of enemies like he was passing a ball in a park. Then Vox made the worst decision of his life. He ordered our own station guards to intervene. Bad move. Our officers rushed in. Kalin spun off a falling chair midair and neutralized 4 of our best before his boots even touched the floor. He didn't break bones. He simply switched them off, pressure points, nerve strikes. Efficient. Terrifying. The entire encounter lasted maybe 3 minutes. Then it stopped. The silence afterward weighed more than the violence. The floor was covered in armored bodies. Gra was unconscious on the table. Thrax was crawling out from beneath his own men. And Kalin? He stepped over a groaning lieutenant, returned to his chair, and sat down. He reached into his pocket, pulled out the rest of his protein bar, and took a bite. The sound of chewing echoed through the chamber. Ambassador Vance calmly adjusted her glasses, surveyed the wreckage, and turned to the shaken warlords. Now, she said evenly, about those mining rights, there was no negotiation, only desperate agreement. The treaty was signed within 20 minutes. The warlords could barely hold the datapad steady, their eyes constantly drifting to the human in the corner finishing his snack. Later, Vox came to see me. He was trembling, replaying the footage frame by frame, trying to understand what he had witnessed. "We thought they were peaceful because they were weak," he whispered. "We thought they were prey." He was wrong. That's the truth about humans. They don't choose peace because they fear the dark. They choose peace because they are the dark. They are apex predators who learned that real power isn't measured by destruction. It's measured by restraint, the control to hold back when you could end everything. Peace isn't weakness. It's a decision made by those fully capable of annihilation. And after watching Kalin dismantle the galaxy's finest without breaking a sweat, I'm just grateful they're on our side. Please follow my channel for more videos. One click from you can change my life.